Thank you very much for the introductions. You're very kind. I wish I had more time in my way to do a lot of things. I have to say no, but I'm really happy to be here. And I will start, and Johnny will be keep an eye on the chat while I teach. And in the second half of the workshop, it will be the other way around. The good thing is that there will be always someone looking an eye of the chat, and you can make any question you may have. There is no silly questions here, so we'll encourage you to make questions and work with us along. So I will share my screen to start. We'll have a few slides and then a lot of practice. So here we are in an introduction to the learner package for interactive tutorials. And this is part of a workshop we do usually with MetaDocencia, but in Spanish. This is our first time doing it in English. And please, if you don't understand my or Chinese English, don't hesitate to raise a hand. We will be happy to try to repeat. So there is a lot. Inger told a lot about us, so here we are. This is our Twitter handles if you want to follow us. And this is our goal for today, to introduce you to this world. This is a very nice looking learner tutorial, and it's nice because it has Alison's first illustrations, but also because uses a lot of good practices in education. And this is where we want to show you today. So let me copy this link and show you how this looks like very quickly. It's going to appear here when I don't know what's happening with my internet today. But the idea of a learner tutorial is to put together the narrative, the content of a topic, some explanations, along with exercises, code exercises, questions, and ways for the learners to practice the thing we are explaining along the tutorial. And it will help you to not only to teach, but also as a extra material if you want. Sorry, I'm going to show you now. If you want to have an extra resource to go along your classes. And this is disconnected because it's also a Shiny app. We are going to talk a little about this in a few minutes. And the reason of this delay, it may be because we all are trying to get into the web page, I think. But if this allow us to see it, I'm going to show you a few examples of what a learner tutorial is. Well, maybe not. Maybe we can try to see it in our own example. Yeah, let's come back to the slides. You can check this later, but we are going to practice with this, with adding some narrative to the learner tutorial, working with code examples that you can run inside the tutorial and see the output of that code and the feedback you get when you run the code and get the results you're waiting for, or maybe the results you weren't expecting are very powerful when you're trying to learn something. And we are going also to see how to add multiple choice questions. This question that can help the learner to check if understood the previous topic of need to revise something. This is another part of the learner tutorial. Here you can see what I was talking about, the code examples, but we are going to look at this in a practice exercise later. So how a learner tutorial looks like? First of all, you will be able to customize it 100%, because in the end, it will be an HTML document. So if you know how to work with HTML, with CSS, you can change everything you're seeing right now. Shani.
Yeah, Pao, I saw your black square of your chat on the screen. I don't know if everybody.
I don't have the chat open.
Or okay.
Yeah, it's gone now. I also saw it. It's fine now.
Okay.
It's fine now. Thank
yes.
you for.
Yes.
Please interrupt me if you stop saying things. Okay, so this is the default looks of the tutorial, but you will be able to change things if you want. For example, in MetaDocencia, we have one that Johnny made with the colors of MetaDocencia, and you can do something similar with your own colors or your own design. In general, you have a title, a table of content. This little gray line is the progress bar, and it will move along with your progress. And this big area is the content area, where you will have some narrative, the explanations, all the information you want to give to the participants or your students, some code exercises, for example, where you can complete the code, run this box to see what's the output, write something totally different if you need to, and work around or play around with the code, and some multiple choice questions. In the end, what you saw before, it's R Markdown. So my first question to you is if you are familiar or not with R Markdown. Any answer is, it will be okay, but we would like to know if you are familiar with R Markdown, yes or no. We have a yes, we have a some. Love R Markdown. Yeah, we can make a club. So if there is a no, I want to see that too, because it's completely okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Thomas. So an R Markdown file is a file that allows you to include plain text with R code, and sometimes other languages too. You can use Python inside an R Markdown file. We are not going to go through that whole, but when you start, when you open your first R Markdown file, it looks like the image in the left, and here are some Spanish too. And the sections you are seeing here are the head or the header of the file, that will change the behavior of the output file. We are going to be able to convert this, transform this into a PDF or HTML file, in the end, a web page if you want, a Word document, and other type of output formats. We have also these gray regions where you can put code and it will work as it were the R console or a script file and .r file. And outside those gray areas, you have plain text. This won't be recognized as code, but as text. And our Markdown will use Markdown to format this text. In this case, this to hash will transform in a title of level 2. This to asterisk at the beginning, at the end, will tell you will convert in the output format to italic font, and so on. So this is a regular R Markdown file. On the right side, we have a learner tutorial R Markdown file. And it is very similar because in the end, a learner tutorial is only a template of our Markdown. It will have a header also, and the output, instead of being, for example, HTML, will be a learner tutorial. And because it's an interactive file, it will use under the hood the Shiny package, but we don't need to worry about that. We won't use Shiny. The learner package will take care of everything for us. And of course, we'll need to use the library, the learner package, to be able to generate code exercises and the multiple choice questions I was showing before. So here's the header, the YAML. The first code chunk that is usually called setup and is for libraries and the general configuration of the code, the plain text, and a chunk code or code chunks for different exercises and another code you need for the tutorial or for the R Markdown file. Besides the two main difference I showed you before, we'll have this run document button that will allow you to render the R Markdown file and get the tutorial. And for example, we have here this new option in the code chunks that will allow you to put an exercise in the tutorial. This is very important because if not, R will try to run some code, and sometimes it's code that is not complete, that you want the learners to complete it, and it will raise an error if R doesn't know that it's actually an exercise and not code that it should run. So we prepare a few examples. Actually, it's one example with a few exercises that you can get going through. Oh, sorry, as a spoiler. I'm going to copy this link to the chat. This is an RStudio Cloud project. If you, thank you, Johnny. If you want to work with the example locally in your machine, we can give you a link to our repository to download the project. But if not, this RStudio Cloud project is already configured to work with directly. I'm going to do the same as you. Oops, sorry. Let me open a new window.
Yeah, we still see your slides, so we don't see.
Yeah, I will. There we go. A new tab, the RStudio Cloud link. And hopefully you will see the same as me, but you will need to log in with your account. I was already in my account, so it didn't ask me for that.
I still see the slide. I don't know if you are trying to show.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, don't worry. There, let me know if
some on the windows are so temperamental.
Yeah,
they do whatever they want. Yeah, now I see you.
How about now?
Yeah. Yes, now yes.
Perfect. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is save a permanent copy. If you don't do that and close the window, you will lose everything you're going to do with us. So please, let's do it. It will show you the project again, and now we are ready to work. We already have a learner tutorial to work with you, but if you were going to create a new tutorial from scratch, you will need to follow the same steps as when you're trying to create a new R Markdown from scratch. So new file, R Markdown, and the key here is to choose from template. Because we have the learner package installed in this project, we have this option, interactive tutorial. And then you can add the name, the location, etc. to get what we are going to show you now. I'm going to cancel this. And are you in the same place as me? Do you need a moment to... All good? I have one, all good. Thank you, Gemma, also for the tick. You can use reactions too. I'm going to keep an eye on that. If you have any problem, let us know. Okay, I think we are getting there. One second more, so everyone is in the same place. Okay, so you will see this penguin folder on the bottom right part of the screen. I'm going to click here, and we'll get the files related to the tutorial. The RMD is the source code of our learner tutorial, and this will be our render tutorial, the one we are going to use when we are trying to solve the exercises, for example. So I'm going to open the penguins.rmd file, and here we have some yeah, I'm trying to resize the screen so you can see more, but I'm not sure if that's possible. Let me know if you don't see the bottom of my screen. We have an example that is a little more things than the one I showed you before. For started, it has a lot of information in the setup chunk because it uses a lot of packages. And it also includes some narrative and information about the penguins package, the penguins dataset that uses this tutorial as an example. But instead of looking at the learner tutorial using the source code, we can run the document. I'm going to press this button here, and the learner package will run everything, and hopefully you let me know, show you the tutorial. It may ask you or tell you that the web page is trying to open a new page. You can safely say, yes, please show me the page so you can see this. And besides all the narrative, we found that we have a very, very nice image. And this is also part of the Alison Horst illustrations. So we have the title, the table of content, and if we go through all the content here, it says this is a demo tutorial, blah, 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 and it's the same as we see here in line 32. Here is the image that is included on the tutorial, and then the rest of the information. But at one point, we stop seeing the content and we have this continue button. And this is different from what we see on the source code, because we added a new option in the head of the file. We can change how the information will show on the learner tutorial. So in this case, we have a progressive equal true that will show the content of the learner tutorial topic by topic. And this can be a good thing, so the students doesn't get overwhelmed by the amount of information you put on the tutorial. And the other option here, allow underscore skip, is to allow students to skip sections of the tutorial if they didn't complete the exercises. So if they are stuck with something, they can continue doing the next thing and then come back if they need to. The most important thing here is this indentation, because if you break the indentation, the file won't render, and I'm going to show you this because it's important and it gave me a lot of headaches in the past. If you do something like this, when you try to run the document, I'm going to try it again. It will give you this error that now is a little more informative than in the past, and it tells you at which line is the problem, but it can give you some problems if it doesn't say the number of the line, of there is many mistakes going around. So if we come back to the way it was before, with the indentation at each section, we'll get again our document without any problem. There you go. So this is very important when you start adding options to the header of the file. For example, we can also add a description with description. Some very informative description. This is a description. And this will add new information to the tutorial. That is, I don't know what it is. Huh. I thought that it will show you here, but
that description also shows on the tab that is called tutorials inside the RStudio IDE that lists all the tutorials that come from the package that you have installed on your computers. And the name of the tutorial and that description is shown on the list, so you know a little bit more about what the tutorial is going to do.
Thank you, Shani.
So it's important for that when you think that your tutorial is going to be used inside the RStudio IDE.
Perfect. So the question is, how did I knew that there were a description option? And it was in this level of indentation and not in this or this one. So there isn't a good answer for this. I'm so sorry about that. Every time I want to add something or I come up with an idea and I want to try to make it work, I will Google the thing, go through the documentation of the learner package and try to solve it. We are going to give you links for that at the end of the workshop. Okay, so we are going to first look at the multiple choice options or questions, and then with Johnny, you're going to see some code exercises and a few more things. Here, this is this tutorial have a lot of information, but in some place for here, you will have some multiple choice informations and exercise to do in a little while. But I'm going to show you again the slides if I manage to find them in my computer. There you go. Yeah, perfect. So you should be seeing the slides now. Perfect. I have a head doing this. Great. This is the example you will find in the template learner tutorial that show you some of the options you have for multiple choice questions. Here we have 2 questions that are inside this quiz function. This quiz function is part of the learner tutorial, learner package. And then each question is inside this question function that also is part of the learner package. You will be able to add as many answer options as you want. And these 2 options, the incorrect argument and the allow retry argument, are usually not as part of the default template, but I added because that's very important. This one will show you some information if you answer incorrectly. And this one will show you this try again button that allows you to try again and try to answer again the question if you did it wrong in the first time. In this case, this question is mutually exclusive. That means that there are only one possible answer. But in the second question, because we have two possible answers, there is no mutually exclusive options. And here we could talk a lot, as we do in MetaDocencia, about how to design these questions, which options are good and why we shouldn't put one correct answer and three answers that are actually jokes or silly answers. We should try to find possible options that we think the students may choose if they didn't understood correctly something, and the answer that is the correct one if they understood what we were explaining before. That way, if we see that the students choose the first option, like maybe half of the students choose the first option, we will know in which part of our explanation we did something wrong, we weren't clear enough, and we need to revise those definitions or content. So right now we have these options. The idea is to look at the exercise we have in the learner tutorial, in the Penguin learner tutorial, and make a few changes using the arguments these functions provide. So each of these functions will have documentation, and it's have many options that you can check. But only with this slide, you have a main structure to make multiple choice questions. And before going to the exercise, I'm going to show you in a minute. Do you have any questions about this?
Pao,
yeah.
Can you add, so these multiple choice questions have got text in them. Can you put sort of code, strings of code as well there, instead of text? Or does that answer function only take in text?
Okay, yeah, great question. So this, spoiler again. You can add text in each question. If you want, you can include code and make it like looks like code in using our Markdown. But if you want to put something else, like some explanation before doing the multiple choice question, you have like the narrative you can add before that and show code, or maybe show some formula and things like that. If you want to make an exercise where the students will run code, Shani will show you that in a minute. But here's more for like conceptual questions. Can you put LaTeX in the answers? Yeah, you can when you render the document, this will show you as a text. If you, for example, create a string that includes our LaTeX, it will work if you use one of these package that get LaTeX and show you the output of that. I think it will work. We should try it in, and if you want, you can try it right now. But it's pretty much flexible if it gets at the end some text, basically. I don't know, Shani, if you have tried to do this on the multiple choice questions.
Yeah, if I use really simple LaTeX that, as Pao says, show you when you put up the LaTeX, show you how the formula looks and works. You can add links and you can add that kind of stuff. I never did stuff really complex, for being honest, but but yes.
Yeah, for example, we have here a link. This is the syntax for Markdown when you want to insert a link. You have the text that will show in brackets and the link or the URL in between parentheses, sorry. And if you want to use LaTeX in the context of Markdown, you can, I'm going to write it on the chat, you can add something between $1 sign at the beginning and one in the end, and that will show you in line, in the same line as the rest of the text. Or you can do the same and get the output in its own line if you add $2 signs at the beginning and 2 at the end. Okay. This is like the more straightforward way to include LaTeX on the Markdown, but there is other R packages that can help you to do that too. Exercise then. We are going to separate you in groups, and we'll encourage you to share, one person to share their screen so everyone can see the same thing and work in group to modify the questions that you will find between lines 75 and 85 in the RMD file. I'm going to show you that right now. And try to do not necessarily all these things, but a few things in the time we are going to give you, and render the tutorial to see how the output tutorial looks like and behave. And here in the RMD file, you have the questions, and you also have the possible things you can modify in the questions. So you don't need to copy anything I was showing you before on the slides. And because we are going to make groups of 3, 4, maybe, Shani, hopefully in each group, at least one person will have the project open so you can work in teams.
Okay, I'm going to start the breakout rooms.
Perfect. You will have 10 minutes.
Te mandó, perdón, Pau.
I came back. I don't know if Bevash is there. We can do. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if continue speaking in English because you were.
I need to go to a room. You guys can talk.
We can hear you, Vivash, because the mic is not close to your mouth.
I'm going to join a room and you guys can
Okay.
chat.
No, it's okay. If
Yeah,
you
of
want to
course,
stay
if
here.
you want.
Cool.
Yeah. Exactly. ¿Viene bien, Pau?
Te iba a decir, ahora en 10 minutos.
I'm going to paste on the chat. There is the full reference for the quiz function, and you have there the different type of question that you can make. There is other questions that come out when you were resting a little bit. Amazing, Pau. Is everything clear? So I'm going to move on and show you how to make code exercises. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see the slides. Awesome. Okay. And I think that this one is one of the most powerful features that the learnr package has, which is to have code inside the explanation and the chance to write that code, do things with that code and see what happens, and probably get some feedback about that changes and what we write on the tutorial. So the exercise look like a chunk of code with a name. The name is really, really important. We are going to see now why. So every single chunk of code in a tutorial should be named. And we need this option that is exercise equals true. So R knows that this is an exercise and can have code with errors inside. And it's not going to try to knit without mistake. And then there is other parameters, for example, this one, that says exercise.lines equal 5 is going to show us in the render tutorial 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code. Sometimes this is good if we want to try to give a kind of tip to our students about how long the code that we are looking for as a solution can have. Yeah, I mean, I give you this exercise, and these are not going to need more than 7 rows, for example, or 3 rows. So we can make explicit the number of line of code we want in each one of the boxes that we are going to present to do exercises. This chunk of code can be empty, like this one on the slide, or can have some code, incomplete code, code that doesn't work, code that is mixed and our student has to order, for example, to function. And we are going to have this option of run code that after you write, when you click this button, the learner tutorial are going to run that code and give you some output, some feedback after that. So it's a chunk of code with this parameter exercise equal true. And a name, we need the names. Why we need the names? And why I'm saying this so many times? Because for each one of these exercises, we can have hints, we can give some tips to our students to try to solve, and we can give a solution So the way that we give these tips, these hints, and this solution is with another chunk of our code with the same name of the exercise, but we add a slash and the word hint. So in this code, we have this. This is the example that appears with the template of learnr. So it show us MT cars, and they request us to show only the first 5 rows of the data frame. So the idea is that the person use the function head, but if the person writes another things and doesn't know how to do that, can click on the hint button that's going to appear only if we have a chunk of code that have the same name of the exercise chunk with the word /hint. And when the students click on that button, they're going to show whatever hint we write. In this case, it's actually the solution, what we are showing here. So tell me, on the chat, and if you look the exercise, the R&D of the exercise, how do you think that you can include a solution for an exercise? We have a chunk of code with a name, then we have another chunk of code with a name /hint, and if I want a solution, how do you think we should include that? I shut up, so I let you think. /solution, exactly. Yes, Karen. /solution. So the same name of the chunk of code. I think the name for the one of the example was print limit. So will be print /limit/solution. And what about if I want to give more than one tip? I don't want to give in the first hint, I don't want to give the solution. I want people see more tips, more hints. How do you think we should write? Yes, exactly, Bevash Caroline. We add /hint/ and the number. The only thing that we need to take care here is that if we are going to have more than one, the chunk that has the name of the exercise /hints and nothing else can be there. So we need to start with /1, /2, /3, and whatever hints number we want to have. So that's why the chunk of the name is so important. If we don't have, we are not consistent with the names, that is going to give us an error, or we are not going to be show the hints or the solutions. Okay, let's go into to see this on our studio. Let me see if I can. Are you seeing my RStudio Cloud? Give me some thumb ups. Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, my internet connection today is nice. Okay, I have the same project that you are using. Oh, that's Clementina. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new learner tutorial, and we are going to work with the exercise that the template gives us. So I'm going to go to File, New File, Markdown, from Template. I'm going to choose Interactive Tutorial. I'm going to to name exercises. I hope I write that okay. And in this template, we have an exercise without any code inside. We have an exercise that have a function, some code, and people need to complete. And here is the one we were watching on this slide. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add a hint. I'm going to write here. There is a function that only shows the top of the data frame. Sometimes if you write this on RStudio, this can be marked with a red circle here, like was a mistake, like was an error. And that is okay. When you use some incomplete code or some text inside the code, the hints, RStudio can mark that as a mistake, but then the document is going to render. So I'm going to add another chunk of code. I'm going to copy the name, the hints. I'm going to use number 2. And I'm going to give another tip. If tails shows you the last rows, then shows you first rows. Oh, look, you see how it's marked this error? Well, that's okay. Don't worry about that because this is a hint inside a learner tutorial. Let's go to run the document so we can see that it's true that this is going to render anyway. We are going to add the solution with the function head, that is the one we want to use. So again, I just copy the name of the chunk and change for hint 1, 2, and solution. Okay, I'm going to run the document. I hope you still see the window. Now you see the learner tutorial. Can you give me some thumbs up?
We still see only the RC project.
Okay, because it is another window. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share again. Now. Yeah, also, okay. 2 years of teaching online with Zoom, and we still doesn't know what is going to share on the screen. Okay, here is the exercise with the empty cars. So if we have here hints, look that the first thing that shows is this text that I write. There is a function, and we have this other button here that say next hints, and we click there and appear the second hints that I give. And if we click next, it's going to give us the solution. I can copy the solution and I can paste here. And if I do run code, now we are seeing 6 rows. Previous, we are seeing 10 rows. I can do other stuff like this, and you can see that we have autocomplete. It's going to give me IntelliSense. So I have that helps too. So it's like a small IDE inside an R Markdown. We have this error. It's letting me know that I'm missing some brackets, some parentheses. The name of the symbols in another language are really hard. So I can do this one too. Well, it gives me the solution, for example. But what happened here? I write max empty cars and I get the solution and no one says to me, I want you use head, no max. This is not what I was looking for. The code works, it's okay. We don't have any mistake, but it wasn't the function that I want my students to use. So how we solve this? How we check for this stuff? Are you seeing my RStudio code now? Yes, thank you. Thank you for this thumbs up. Well, here is one, another package comes to play with us. We need to load the grade this package. This grade this package is going to help us with some function that would allow us to check what our students write in this exercise chunk. And one of the ways to check these answers that our students give to us is using the solution. That is why sometimes you want to include a solution when you exercise, because this can be used to check the code that you are expecting with the code that your students write. And then we are going to talk about why that can be problematic. So one of the things that we need to do to check an exercise is, one more time, we are going to use the name of the chunk and we are going to add a slash check word. And the easiest way to check is using this idea of, I give you the solution, I give you the code, one line like this one, or 20 lines of code, whatever I want to give on the solution, and you are going to check the code that my students write there and send with the submit answer, and check if they are equal. And here is the problem. If the students arrive to a valid solution, but it's not equal, exactly the same that I write, is going to give a wrong feedback. They're going to say, no, this is not like this. And it's going to be really frustrating because they actually solve the exercise in a different way that we thought, but in a correct way. So this way of check that I'm going to show you now, only use if you know there is no other solution than this one. For example, for some exercise like this one, that is exactly that function, and that is only one line of code. So the function for doing this is called grade this code. And it's going to do exactly that. It's going to check what I write on the learner tutorial with what we write on the solution chunk. Let's going to check this one. Are you seeing the tutorial? Yes? Okay. If I write max here now, let's go to run the code. Let's give me the solution. If I submit the answer, now I get a message in red. And I don't know if in the school for you the red was the one, but for me was. So I don't like great with red because it's bring me bad remembers, bad memories. But it's give to you a default text that say, I expect you call head, and it's taking this function from the solution where you call max. Don't give up, try one more time. This message already give the solution to the student, give the answer. But this is the default message that you are going to get. Let's going to do this right. Let's use head. And let's submit the answer one more time. This time is give us the output of the function, and it's giving to me some nice feedback. You rock, correct. And this message are going to change every single time that you try. Probably if you run this, probably you get a different message. This message, as all the interface, can be used in different language. We made a translation to use in Spanish, for example, and if anyone wants to, you can change the language of the message and all the buttons and all the interface that the learning tutorials build. I know there is Portuguese, there is French, but I don't know about other language. But if anyone wants to use different language and wants to translate, please get in touch with me and I will be more than happy to show you how to do it. Okay. Well, what happened is we need to check for something a little more flexible than this code that is exactly the same that we have in the solution. Let me show you the slides a little bit. Okay, we already see this. Grade this has these functions. We already see the code. Then we have conditions. And here, what we need to do is to think about the different approach that someone can write, and then put that possible wrong or right answer and a message that we want to give for the feedback, which can be really hard and difficult for some code. And then the great result. And this is the one that we advise to use because it is more easy to check for an output, for a result of a function or a series of functions than for the code. So if you are asking your students to do some pipe work, for example, load this CSV, filter for these two columns, and give me the ratio between this, or doing, then you have a filter, you have a select, you have a group by, you have a summarize. Then you can get the result and check for the result you know is correct, whatever they resolve that series as a step. It doesn't matter if the filter is first and the select is after, if the summarize, if they use mutate and summarize, or they use count. Yeah, it doesn't matter how the code is. What is matter here is that the result of that series of function of series of steps is the same that you know, and is the one you are going to check. Is this clear? Let me know if something is not clear enough or you want more details. I see a lot on the chat, but I don't know if it is question or it is about Clementina.
Both, but you can continue.
Okay, thank you, Pao. So one of the things that you can be asking you is really nice, Shani. If the result is a number, is a series of rows, that is something like that, that's okay. What happens if my result is a plot? Well, that is going to be more tricky, but one of the things that we do in that case is make the people play with the code, get a plot as a result, and after that, we do a multiple choice about that plot. So we can check in the multiple choice if the plot they get is the plot we want they get. That is a way to mix code and multiple choice and to try to give feedback about something like a plot that you can compare in an if. You can do a logic comparison with that, something like a plot, for example, or a map. In the grade this demo, you have example of each one of these and how to use it. We are going to try to use now a great result to see how this works on the code. I'm going to go back to my RStudio Cloud. So here in the check, what I'm going to do is to use grade this, and I'm going to use an if, and in the if, I'm going to check if the result of the code is what I'm looking for. I'm going to use a function that is called identical. And I'm going to use this object that is called .result. And there is the output of the chunk of code in the exercise. So in this result, what I'm going to get in this example are the first 6 rows of the empty cars data frame. I'm going to have that output in .result. If I use, I don't know, if I asking for doing the average of a serious number, in result, what I'm going to have is the average. What is going to be in that result if the person, instead of head empty cars, write max empty cars like I did? Let me know in the chat. What do you think that is going to have in that result? The max value, exactly. Yeah, we are going to have, so if I compare that result with the output of head empty cars, if they are not equal, if they're not identical, then we know they fail. And whatever they write there, if the results are identical to a result that I already know that is correct, then I can price them and that I know they solve the exercise correctly. So what I'm going to add here is get empty cars, which is what I'm looking for, but I can put there anything. I can put a number. I mean, if we were looking for the max, and I know the max is 475, I can right here 475. And we are going to check for a specific number, for example. But here we're looking for the result of head empty cars. So if this happens, I'm going to answer with the function pass, which is the one who brings us the green message. And I can write here whatever I want to. awesome. You got the first row of the data set. If this is not identical, then they fail. And I can also give here a message. Oops. Not yet. That close. For example, something like that. Let's see if this works. You are seeing the tutorial? Yes. Okay. Let's go into right here, max, empty cars. Let's go to submit an answer. And now you can see my message. Oops, not yet, but close, because this failed. I write another function. It's going to give me exactly every single time that I write something wrong, it's going to give me the same message because I'm only checking for the right solution. And anything that is not the right solution, I give in the same feedback. If I write here head empty cars, now it gives me the sixth row and say, awesome, you got the first row of the data set. Now, I'm showing you some simple feedback and some simple checks. You can make this as complex as you can imagine of your want. And there is other functions that the GradeThis package has to help us to do this test. We are going to let you some material to read about this. Okay, I'm going to stop to share the screen. I think that we have, yes, an exercise. So I'm going to stop to share the screen. And I see a lot of questions. Pao, there is one specific.
Maybe one, the one that Inger made. How about how could it manage a number of lines of code? What would be the results then? Well, in this case, I think the result
is
always,
yes, it's always the output. It doesn't matter if you have 15 lines, because it's not the code that they write, but it's the output of that steps and that code that you write. For check the code, it is the solution with that function, again, the code. But it's really hard to apply that function because at least our students solve the exercise in different ways, and sometimes you don't even can imagine that way, but it's correct anyway. So and it's really frustrating to, I don't know if you use some of these platforms that have this kind of exercise, and when you did right and they say to you no, and you say, why did this is right and it is working on my computer? It is because of that, because they're checking again a way to solve, and you just did it in a different way, and they can know why. Yeah, sure, we can share this RMD file with you, the one that I create. Yes, sure. We are going to upload on the GitHub repo we share. We are going to share the link again, so you have everything we use here. Oh, different question every time that the students come. No, different tutorials. Yeah, no, no, I don't know how to do it if learner have that feature that I don't think.
But I also think, so I know why Priyanka's asking that question is obviously she's thinking of using it for a test and then randomizing it. But I don't, and maybe I can do a follow-up question for that. I don't think we can, these are tutorials, we can't mark them, collect them afterwards and mark them in any way. So we wouldn't be able to do that. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, the way you can use this tutorial is you can publish as a Shiny app and people log in, connect, and do by themselves. So they don't see the code, for example. You can give the R Markdown and people going to room are going to see all your code. So they already have the solution there too, the hints. Or you can build a package and they install the package and use in their computer. And they can see on the tutorials tab inside the RStudio. So this is the way you can share. And the way we use with Pao, Pao and I, we teach together in some universities. We use this as a way to review a topic. So people already saw a topic and we need a refresh. So we give them this in the synchronous class or before the class. We also use this to reinforce. We saw a code like right now, we do like coding, we try. And the exercise in breakout rooms, like the one you did, going through a tutorial. They love that one. They really like this way. And the other one is to give them extra exercises. So if you want to practice more, go through the tutorial. This is the way we use it. So I don't know if I actually answered the question.
No, that's perfect. I think
she was also asking about collecting the answers from the students.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. We are not going to see this now, but at the end of the slide, there is a talk by Mine Sentikaya Rondel, where she explained how to do that. And it is one of the package that is on the Penguin tutorial in the example that we give you on the project. So you can check that one. So there is a package that collect the answer and send to a Google Sheet. Or the other things that you can do is to embed a Google form on the tutorial and create a kind of hash. Yes, I don't know. Yes, I think that is the correct name in English too. But it's a kind of code with the answers inside a piece of text. And then the students copy that hash and paste on the Google form. And that you can then parse to the answers of the tutorials. So Amine explained how to use this package. The other is a talk also in the RStudio Conf last year by Professor Rundle, where he also explained how to use this package. So yeah, that is a really interesting part. And then Mine Dogochu, she has now a package to automate the grade, but not the feedback to the students, but how you have to collect all the answers and yes. I don't add the Mine package, but I'm going to add that to the slide, so you have that one too. There is a lot out there to help us to do this more easy. Okay. If we don't have more questions, then we have one more exercise that we like you to do, and then we can finish the workshop. Okay.
With exercise, you mean the feedback survey, right?
Yeah.
I will share the link on the chat then.
Please, please. If you can, before we finish, we are going to ask you feedback as Inger read in the start, non-lesson survive the first encounter with the students. So we are going
Or
to
the
ask you to
second,
please,
or the third.
or the second, yes, but this is the first one in English. It is the same content in Spanish, but so we are going to be really, really grateful if you can give us feedback to improve this this workshop.
Cool. I'll also put the link on the meetup page.
Oh, thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, I'm going to share the screen. Where are these links? You are seeing the slide. Okay, here are the web page of the package that has a lot of examples. Then there is the RStudio primers that you can access on the RStudio Cloud. On the panel on the left, you have RStudio primers, and all of that are learners. So you can also access to the code of this one, and they are really, really good to check how they do things and to borrow that code and use for yourself, for you learner tutorials. And there is the talk, my talk about learner on the RStudio Conf, and feedback at the scale, that is the talk of Mine about how to get the answers and to grade these tutorials. If you want to, when you finish, just write on the chat that you finish the survey. Hey, Denise, thank you for that. Gracias. That is Spanish there. Awesome, awesome. Okay. As a summary, because I love concept maps, we see that R Markdown can be a learner tutorial that has a head, a YAM, and R Markdown with formatted text. We can add videos, we can add pictures on the learner tutorials. We have R code, inline, and chunks, and these chunks can be exercises in the case of our learner tutorials. And you can check for feedback, you can have solution hints, and you can give incomplete code, so you students can work with something and not with a blank page to do this code. And then you can also have quiz questions, multiple choice, you can give custom feedback, and you can have multiple incorrect answers. There is other package, like for example, Parsons questions, where you can give Parson exercise when you have, for example, code that is not sort, and then you have to order in the right steps to do that code runs correctly. You have other packages that you can use with Learn. And then we already talked about MetaDocencia, means meta teaching in English. And we are going to do more of this workshop with others R-Ladies chapters, we hope. We have several in Spanish coming in, and we hope to do some others in English. And thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you, Yanni and Pao. That was amazing for your first English tutorial. You guys did so great. You ladies did so great.
Thank you.
That's
As
very
I say,
cool.
you very much. But we say yes because it's R-Ladies and it's this chapter, and we know that it's an amazing and safe space and friendly place to try
Yes,
to try new
but
things.
you can now try elsewhere because it was very well done.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, we have even a couple of minutes.